Housing is not just the place where you sleep at night.
It is, in its most basic form, security of tenure.
Is the kind of basic way that we connect socially to our community, to our environment, to our sense of place.
The fact that so many people cannot afford adequate and great housing in a country that is as well off as Canada is a total injustice.
Affordability, I think, should mean affordable to anyone.
The housing crisis is reflective of a built environment that was designed. This is not something that is natural or normal and can't be redesigned.
Pour la Biennale de Venise 2023, la Biennale d'architecture, le Conseil des arts du Canada a choisi un collectif qui s'appelle AA, Architect Against Housing Alienation. Le collectif AA regroupe des gens de partout au pays, des francophones, des anglophones, des autochtones, des non-autochtones, des gens de la diversité, parce qu'on considère maintenant que, comme société, on est face à des problèmes qui sont communs. Mais pour régler ces problèmes-là, on a besoin de la diversité des perspectives et des points de vue et des origines et des expériences historiques. De présenter dans le contexte d'une biennale internationale d'architecture quelque chose qui démontre en fait, d'une certaine façon, la faillite d'une certaine architecture. Je trouve qu'il y a quelque chose de vraiment interpellant, de vraiment intéressant, puis effectivement qui suscite une conversation.
Architects Against Housing Alienation, which we're calling AHA, is a collective that came together
to end housing alienation in Canada.
It is an organization that we founded to bring together architects, activists, and advocates. I understand AHA not only as a project that is tied to the Canadian Pavilion at the Venice Biennale, but also as a movement. And we are already sharing in the excitement of a huge community of people that is striving towards the same goals.
There's so much potential, and we have yet to sort of tap it.
We want to present the idea, just the simple conception that your housing doesn't have to be a piggy bank. It doesn't have to be something that's for sale. It doesn't have to be just a financial asset, because it's creating this gap between people's experience of what it's like to live in a unit of housing and then this financial sector that treats their housing like it's just a commodity to be traded and sold on the market for more profit generation to happen, not necessarily for those folks who are living in those units of housing.
The zenith of this is something like a one-bedroom condominium unit high up in a tower that is far separated from the ground, far separated from the public, not easily a space where you can connect with your neighbors. Housing alienation is quite simply the feeling of distance and separation from the sheltering function of housing.
You think of alienation as just being kind of estranged from the things that you need. That connection to community is really important. The connection to place is really important. We've lost those things. I don't think we always see it.
We see the exchangeability of housing, or housing being used as an exchange value, as the root of these disconnections.
The fight that we're trying to launch with this campaign for non-alienated housing is to really help people understand that those connections have been broken and they need to be stitched back together or recreated.
There are also real reasons why the system as it currently functions is structurally inequitable.
Colonization is obviously about stealing of land and then converting the resources of that land into wealth accumulation by the settlers. And today we're all all of us who aren't First Nations people are some part of that story. It is one of the greatest ironies that, Indigenous peoples, all of the different communities that I work with across the country that are building housing in cities, the number one challenge is finding a piece of land that they can actually afford to buy. This is why land-back movements are really focusing in on government-owned land right now, because it's saying this is the time for land back. And there's enough land in most cities that municipal, provincial, or federal governments own that could be given back to people for housing specifically.
I'd say 95% of the land, say in British Columbia, is public land. So it's what the government calls Crown land. Crown land is Indigenous land. Because the land sits in the traditional territory of a First Nation, then that First Nation should have the right to have control over that land. Currently, we do not, except for specific portions. I'm reminded to take the long view. If it doesn't happen in this generation, it's okay. Because colonization's been with us for 500 years, and it's not going to change overnight. And if it takes another hundreds of years, another 500 years to change, it does. But that's all right. We're still moving the bar. We're still working. And we're coming out from underneath a system that really disabled us.
We think one of the fundamental problems with housing in Canada is that it's built to be sold. Our argument against housing alienation is very similar to the statement not for sale. Not for sale is just a simpler way of putting it.
La campagne Pas à vendre brise la tradition dans le sens qu'elle amplifie et qui répond et qui fait écho à des mouvements qui existent vraiment dans la société canadienne. The pavilion will not be a traditional exhibition. It will be more some kind of an immersive experience of people trying to work and debate and discuss and achieve something to affirm the right to housing and solutions from an architectural point of view.
The housing problem in Canada does not have a single solution that will be a magic bullet for everything. Basically, the burning problems are different in each community. And that's why we have assembled 10 teams from across Canada who work in different social contexts and with different communities, and entrusting them with finding a solution for their community and their environment.
We see the Venice Biennale and the opportunity to showcase all of this work there as a huge opportunity to increase visibility for this issue, to show people exactly what the problems that we have here in Canada look like, but also to show people the potential for solutions here.
We think by sharing our efforts in Canada in the pavilion in Venice can help spark conversations and dialogue and mobilize people at a much broader level.
L'idée d'une biennale, c'est aussi de partager nos problèmes, c'est aussi de partager nos enjeux, puis c'est aussi d'être dans une même conversation pour essayer de les résoudre. À l'heure actuelle, on est beaucoup plus capable d'engager des liens avec les autres peuples, avec les autres sociétés, en reconnaissant nos propres enjeux, nos propres problèmes, puis en partant d'une discussion d'égal à égal. Puis on peut travailler ensemble, on peut réfléchir ensemble, on peut trouver des idées qui peuvent être mises en action ensemble.
AHA believes there's a great opportunity to bring together activists who have their own unique expertise and experiences with advocates that again have their unique experience and expertise with architects. By bringing all these three groups together, we believe that unique synergies will take place that make unique contributions to envisioning a kind of post-alienation housing for Canada.
Architects have real potential to add something to this campaign for non-alienated housing and for decommodified housing by creating aspirational visions of what it could look like in the future.
Architects can do a lot in the community and can be a lightning rod for activity and action.
Le message que le collectif envoie, c'est de dire, on n'est pas dans un bureau d'architecte, mais on est plus dans l'action, on est plus dans les tranchées, on est plus dans un combat pour affirmer le droit au logement puis le droit de vivre dans des conditions décentes.
Ultimately, the goal of our entire exhibition and our entire campaign is to empower people who already exist and amplify their message.
What does community mean to you?
And we are trying to find the strength in numbers and the strength in different solutions. We want to promote Canada through this pavilion as a country where we have a voice and where solutions are possible.
We're not just here to, make noise. We want to mobilize change. And we think like if you can get 10 demands answered, that's a great achievement, and it might just start to open up the door for more of those.
Ça donne une nouvelle pertinence à l'utilité de l'architecture. Puis on espère que c'est ça que ça va produire la présence du Canada à Venise cette année.